Is this working? All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for starting your day a little bit earlier and getting into the car and driving over here. We're still adjusting to post-COVID where we have to kind of get up and get dressed and get in the car and get somewhere and plan for commute time. My name is Pat Trudgeon. I'm City Manager for the City of Roseville. Thank you very much for being here and welcome to the Roseville Business Council. I think we may have some folks online, so if those folks, we'll have them introduce themselves a little bit later. We'll read off their names, but if they're on line in the chat, please introduce yourself in the chat as well. We're proud to have the programming in partnership with the Twin Cities North Chamber and the St. Paul Chamber of Commerce. Been doing this for many, many years and have a variety of topics, and so we're really pleased for this partnership, and we're really pleased about the presentation here today. But I will turn it over to Kevion from the St. Paul Chamber.
Thank you. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Kevion Ellis, and I'm the Vice President of Business and Talent Development at the St. Paul Area Chamber. And I just want to say the Chamber appreciates the opportunity to be connected to this work and to be partners with the City of Roseville. So thank you for having us. And before we get going here, we want to thank our sponsors who helped make this program possible. So we want to thank Highway Credit Union, McGough, and Visit Roseville for your continued support. So with that, I'll turn it over to John.
Hey. Sounds good, Kevion. Thanks. And I'm John Connolly, President of the Twin Cities North Chamber. And the first thing we like to do every meeting is go around and do a roundabout and give everyone the opportunity to introduce themselves in person, and then we'll do the online right after this. So coming up, Julie, you're first.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Julie Warren, and I'm with Visit Roseville.
And I'm going to pass the mic.
So that was Julie Warren from Visit Roseville, if you didn't hear. I'm Mayor Dan Rowe. I'm also a board member on the Rice Laboratory Alliance.
Good morning. My name is Dan Fox, a mechanical engineer with Ayers and Associates here in Roseville.
Good morning. I'm Robin Schroeder, Roseville City Council member.
Good morning. I'm Matthew Johnson, Parks and Recreation Director with City of Roseville.
Good morning. Corey Yunke, Community Relations Manager with the City of Roseville.
Hey everyone, Janice Gunlock, Community Development Director with Roseville, also a Rice and Larpenter Board member.
Morning, everyone. Emmett Nath, Commercial Loan Officer at Premier Banks.
Roger Heston, resident and both business owners.
Oh, hey.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Matthew Wyland with Clear Channel on tour.
Jeannie Kelsey, I'm the Housing and Economic Development Program Manager for the City of Roseville.
Good morning. Beth Bridal, St. Paul Area Chamber, and I'm part of the events team.
Good morning. Maureen Daly with Highway Credit Union, and I'm also on the board for Twin Cities North Chamber.
Morning, Kate Dewin, serve in Commissioner Mary Jo McGuire's office, District 2 for Ramsey County. She's also on the Rice and Larpenter Alliance Board.
Jana King with Economic Development Services, a small business located here in Roseville.
Mark Lau, Roseville resident and homeowner.
Deb Nygaard with Arthur's Senior Care.
Matt Bourne with Highway Credit Union in Roseville.
Shannon Turner with Evolve Systems on Rice Street.
Jerry Moyna, commercial lender with Deerwood Bank in St. Paul, but a Vadis Heights resident.
Thank you, everyone, for in person. And now I'm going to hand it off back to Pat, and he's going to help us introduce the folks online.
Thank you, John. Joel, do we have anybody online?
Yeah, we'll welcome Christy Lazenberry and Maddie Robbins, who are attending online. Say that again. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Thanks for joining online. We have Christy Lazenberry and Maddie Robbins.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Well, let me now introduce Kim O'Brien, who will be our speaker today. I have her bio here. She is currently the Vice President of Strategic Initiatives at the St. Paul Area Chamber and leads the Workstream Professional Services Division. Within her role, Kim also serves as the Executive Director of Rice and Larpenter, and that's what she'll be talking about today, Alliance, in addition to supporting other nonprofit and public clients. Prior to the Chamber, Kim started as a legislative aide to St. Paul City Council President Amy Brenmoen and held roles in nonprofit community relations and advertising. She has a master's degree in public policy from the Humphrey Institute of Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota and a bachelor's degree in communications and sociology from the University of Colorado. She currently serves as a trustee for the Friends of the St. Paul Public Library. Kim lives in the Battle Creek neighborhood in St. Paul with her husband and 2 sons. I've known Kim for probably about 10 years, and I think you were an aide to Councilmember Brenmo at the time when we first began the conversations about Rice-Larpenteur Alliance. It was just an idea, and look at us now. So, and I have to say that personally, I've really appreciated her dedication to the Rice-Larpenteur Alliance. It would not have happened without her work. There's a lot of people that have been involved, but she's been the glue that held us all together. So thank you very much, Kim. Come on up and make the presentation.
Wow, thank you.
I think you have a microphone.
Okay, perfect. Wow, oh, hello. Good morning. Thank you so much, Pat. That's really, really kind words, and certainly this work wouldn't have happened without your dedication, Mayor Rowe's dedication, the dedication of the city of Roseville, of course, the city of Maplewood, and the city of St. Paul and Ramsey County. So this truly is a group effort, and I'm just honored to have been a part of it. So today I'm just going to talk you through kind of the history of this really unique public-private partnership and kind of what we've done so far in high level and where we might be going. So a little bit about Rice and Larpenteur, and some of you know it really well. You know, I'm looking at Mr. Hess. It's been home for generations in his family. But the Rice and Larpenteur neighborhood, as we define it, is kind of the Rice Street corridor. That is from kind of in St. Paul around, you know, Hammernick's interior decorating, if you know that one, all the way up through County Road B. So if you look on this little map, you'll see the main horizontal line, that's Larpenteur Avenue. The southeast quadrant of that neighborhood is, or the south half of the neighborhood is St. Paul. The northeast quadrant is the city of Maplewood. And the northwest quadrant of that map is the city of Roseville. The neighborhood is growing, has added a lot of people over the last 20 years. It is very diverse. It is global, so it's home to a lot of immigrant populations for our county and for our region. And it is young, home to a lot of young families. I think the reason that this all began was because one of my favorite quotes when I talk about the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance is Councilmember Brenmoen at the time said, "It's as if, you know, the neighborhood feels as if everybody, all the leaders of the cities, are kind of standing at it with their backs to the intersection, to the neighborhood, looking in on their own cities." And she and Mayor Rowe started to ask out loud, and then Mayor Slawick from Maplewood, what would happen if instead of standing with our backs to Rice and Larpenteur, if we turned in and looked in together as 3 cities? And that was kind of the seed of the idea. And it was really sparked as well because the area, despite the fact that it is one of the more highly densely populated neighborhoods of the entire region, also had some problems with, you know, dignified and healthy housing, with crime and safety, and with pedestrian and vehicle accidents. So there was a lot of high profile and negative publicity about this neighborhood. But the city leaders knew that it was also home to many of our community members, many of us, and that we needed to do something to give them the attention that the neighborhood deserved. So this all began, I guess Pat said 10 years ago. That's amazing. But with a conversation. So Council Member Brenmoen in St. Paul at the time was my boss, representing the Rice Street area in the north end of St. Paul, and Mayor Rowe, representing Roseville. They kind of said, well, we're sharing a lot of the same issues here. We all want to pay attention to this really important part of our cities, but we know we can't do it alone. And Mayor Slawick from Roseville. And the 3 of them met at Friends Cafe, which if you don't know it, it's at Rice and Larpenteur in Roseville, delicious food, and started talking. And that seed planted really germinated a lot of ideas like, well, how do we draw attention to resources? Even the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce at the time, when I didn't work there, found some interest in this kind of border communities, these corridors that shared multiple municipalities. And they were able to draw resources and grants in to do a study. And that study identified that along Larpenteur Avenue, Rice and Larpenteur was kind of the point with most opportunity and most need for attention. Then the cities did something pretty phenomenal and unique. They said, well, let's keep this going. And they shared and pooled resources to hire a study firm. So they put out a request for proposals to do a community development study at Rice and Larpenteur, and hired a firm to create what would become the Rice Larpenteur Area Gateway Vision Plan. And that took a couple of years and a lot of community engagement, and that plan was adopted finally by all 3 cities in 2018. So then, amazingly, they thought together, well, let's continue, because a plan is great, but when there's a plan and no kind of identified single body charged with carrying it forward, it will just be a plan. It'll be a pretty piece of paper on the shelf. So they once again pooled resources and put out another request for proposals for a person or entity that would carry that work forward. At that time, I was ready to graduate from my amazing time at the St. Paul City Council, and I had already fallen deeply and madly in love with Rice Street and Rice and Larpenteur, and I was like, that's what I want to do. And the St. Paul Area Chamber said, that's the kind of work that we want to do. So we went after it, and we were really honored to be awarded with the city's trust to carry this vision plan forward in 2019. So 2019 was kind of the year that we started saying, well, God, there's no entity called the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance. All there is a plan, a piece of paper. We have to kind of create an infrastructure here. We knew kind of where we were going, but we had to put the pieces together to get there. So we adopted a brand, a neighborhood brand. And I love this story because for a while we were putting out all sorts of really cool and fun names for what Rice and Larpenteur would be called. McCarran's Rice, that sounded pretty good. Or, some people really fell in love with Tri-Town, 3 cities. But it kind of occurred to us at that point that, the majority of us sitting around the table love the neighborhood a lot, but didn't live and work there. We needed to call the organization using the language that people who live and work there already use. And people said, I live at Rice and Larpenteur. So we became the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance. We adopted a website. We did a strategic fundraising plan. We laid an infrastructure that would carry us all forward. And then in 2020, or actually it was 2019, we launched what would become our community-based advisory board. We had one. Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning. Sorry. No, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Sorry, I don't let people sneak. I'm just happy to see you. So, of course, we had an amazing community event, raised all this excitement and interest thanks to the help of our city leaders. And people came out and they said, I want to be part of this. I want to be on the board. And we had a wonderful lunch and celebration of the vision plan at Nepali Kitchen, a new business. And like a month later, everything was shut down. COVID, right? But actually, I'm really, really excited and proud to share what happened next, because we said, wait a minute, we've got all this attention. We've got all these resources. We've got all these people at the table. They want to help. And this is a time our community maybe needs help the most. And within a couple of weeks, we had raised, over $10,000 worth of donations and in-kind, donations and cash, and had a lot of volunteers. And we were able to distribute 500 stay-at-home kits to the residents in the multifamily homes living at Rice and Larpenteur. And those kits included toilet paper at a time that was really, really hard to get, and all sorts of great stuff for kids and learning. And I'll say Pat over there, city manager, actually came to my house, helped pack bags in my garage, and carried them around Rice and Larpenteur, one of the best volunteers at that time. And so anyway, I think we started out strong right from the gate and we said, you know what, we've got this opportunity to make a difference, and we were all really committed to seeing that through. So we just adapted. The vision, part of the vision plan, the vision statement is that the Rice and Larpenteur area will be a safe, engaging, and inviting neighborhood center that includes common spaces, a high-quality pedestrian environment, and robust reinvestment for the diverse people of the surrounding communities to live, conduct business, and play together. So that's kind of our guiding principle, our vision for the future. The organization also early on adapted some values, the how we would do this work, how we conduct it. Diversity and representation is our strength. Non-displacement, meaning none of the activities that we could do would result in people no longer being able to afford their homes or businesses within the Rice and Larpenteur area. And a strengths-based approach. And this one is really dear to my heart because sometimes when there's problems or negative things happening, we want to attack the problem. But on a personal level, I believe that what you pay attention to is what grows. And Rice and Larpenteur Alliance had so many positive qualities that all we wanted to do was build upon the strengths of this amazing and dynamic community, and more, and that would grow. So the vision plan contains a lot of great ideas, from like redevelopment that are really kind of exciting pie in the sky ideas of what spaces could become, to how Rice Street looks, to how Larpenteur would look, to simple things like how we make the pedestrian environment healthy, connecting to Lake McCarran's, both physically with walkways and pathways, and also like emotionally. Lake McCarran's is an incredible park amenity for this neighborhood, yet when you're living in, the north side of St. Paul at Larpenteur Avenue, you don't really realize you're part of this amazing park and lake community. So those are the kind of ideas that carried through. A number of you mentioned that you are members of our board of advisors, and that is true. I am so proud and humbled to say that, all of these folks, it's almost 50, have stepped up and raised their hands saying, I want to be a part of this. And so far, our strategic approach has been a really open arms policy. Like, if you want to bring your passion for this community, your skills, your connections, your time and resources to Rice and Larpenteur, then we welcome you. And what it's resulted in is a great list of really committed individuals. So we have residents from all three cities. We have elected officials and planning and city staff from all three cities and the county. That's another thing. This area is represented by not only 3 different, mayors and city councils, but 3 different county commissioners in 3 different districts, right? So you could say, wow, that means you guys are going to get a lot of attention. You have so many people fighting for you. Or it means like you get a little fraction of everybody's attention. So anyway, this is an incredible list, including business owners and community members who care a lot. I have to shout out some of our sponsors. So just for your information, Rice and Larpenteur Alliance is primarily funded through a grant that the city of Roseville, Maplewood, and St. Paul pool resources, and they've done that consistently over the last 5 years to help us fund the operations. But we know that we might not always be able to count on a city grant from 3 cities to focus on this neighborhood. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to gain a foothold, to organize, but then we have to figure out long-term, how do we diversify that funding source so that that the organization could live long beyond, hopefully, Mayor Rowe is there for a long time, but what if another mayor comes and has a different priority, right? So we want this organization to outlive us all and continue to build on that vision. So we need to find new sources of revenue. And I'm really proud that some of our great local corporations have contributed as annual corporate sponsors, as well as Ramsey County through really innovative programs like the Critical Corridors program, or Corridors of Opportunity program as well. And then we've been lucky with support from the Bigelow Foundation and the St. Paul, Minnesota Foundations. I have a couple of annual reports in the back. If you don't have one, I'd love you to have one. You can see kind of what we did over the last year. And I'll highlight just a few things. So it's early, but you should still applause when I say. The Lamplighter Lounge, right? The Lamplighter Lounge, for those of you who don't know, is on the St. Paul side of Rice and Larpenteur, but kind of directly across from Roseville, right, on Larpenteur Avenue. And this was an establishment where, you know, a nightclub, and anyways, the problem was that the violence that this establishment attracted, and the location that it was meant that violence was affecting a lot of families and people who are just trying to go about their lives in Rice and Larpenteur. And tragically, incidents around the Lamplighter Lounge, regular gun violence, regular large fights, tons of police activity, and even a couple of homicides. So thank goodness that the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance was around, because tragically in June of 2020, a young woman lost her life at the Lamplighter Lounge, right? There was a fight. Somebody shot blindly into a vehicle, and a 23-year-old woman was tragically killed. Like I said, this wasn't the first time it happened, but the difference was there was an established community organization that had already said enough to the violence. There was committed city leadership that said, yeah, this might be on the outskirts, but this is the center of our attention right now. We're not going to let this go. And then her mother formed an organization, Mothers Against Community Gun Violence, and did peace marches and protested and said there needs to be some accountability for this senseless act. And we paired up with Mothers Against Community Gun Violence. You know, at the time it happened, the parking lot looked a mess, and the corridor looked a mess. And by the end of, you know, a year from then, we had that parking lot completely made over and redeveloped, a community parklet there, better lighting. And we had several high-profile media stories about safety at the Lamplighter. And the city of St. Paul held a 2.5-hour-long public hearing where they heard from multiple people affected by the violence at Lamplighter Lounge. Over time, all of that effort and work and attention resulted in the Lamplighter Lounge, after I don't even know how long, generations, leaving permanently for good. And I'm really excited to say that within the next couple of months, a family-owned grocery store will open at the Lamplighter Lounge. So. I'll try to be faster, but some other really fun projects we do is our public art. So with a grant from the Capital Region Watershed District this year, we were able to do community public artist designed utility box wraps on Rice Street. That actually are inspired by Lake McCarran's and that kind of environmental connection the community has. And this was a way to A, beautify the corridor, and B, make that social, emotional connection to the resource, even when you weren't right at the park, right? So we were able to complete these beautiful utility boxes, mostly south of Larpenteur Avenue. That was really fun. Some community events, I think, have been one of our greatest accomplishments. So over the last, 5 years, we've put on a group of seasonal events. And our goal is, A, to highlight all those community strengths and to bring people together and engage local residents and businesses in this work. And also just have a good time together. And it works. We're starting to see families come back every event saying, as soon as I see your signs, we know that we're going to come. We're so excited. We love these events. Or one of the local residents walked up and she's like, came early to the summer block party this year. And she said, I have been here for 5 years in a row. Every year I come. And I just thought that was so cool, building those habits and that moment of connection. So our Community in Bloom event is on the Roseville side at the Lake McCarran's Park. That celebrates art and nature and community and spring. We also try to really connect people to the lake itself. Ramsey County has been a wonderful partner. Their Parks and Recreation Department helps us activate the lake with fishing and canoeing and just get people in the habit of like using their lake and also being a steward of this beautiful park. The Summer Block Party is our signature event that happens right at the intersection of Rice and Larpenteur. And that one attracts like 400 to 500 people each year, and we usually have a rock and blues band that's donated from Wilebski's Blues Saloon across the street. And we bring local restaurants and food. Anyway, it's a great time. This year that's going to be August 12th, so mark your calendar. And then the winter warm-up. Just starting last year, we started holding the winter warm-up on the Maplewood side. So we have a community seasonal event in each of the 3 cities to highlight that unique city, which is kind of cool. And this year, the highlight of the winter warm-up was a visit by some really cute llamas. So, but people come out despite the fact that it's bitterly cold and celebrate community together. So from here, work plan goals. 2023, we want to manage, of course, continue this work going. We want to grow our capacity and raise funds. We want to build. So the vision plan actually is a redevelopment plan for the neighborhood. Some of the site redevelopments aren't something that is necessarily going to become. They're literally just a vision, and they change. But we would like to see some additional changes to the built environment when this is all said and done. Dignified and affordable housing for community members. As I said, the population has grown, but really very few new units of housing have been added to Rice and Larpenteur. So redevelopment, transportation. So when this work started, there was Larpenteur Avenue was that 4 lanes, multiple pedestrian crashes and fatalities regularly, tragically. Now, thanks to Ramsey County's leadership, that road is like a 3-lane conversion with pedestrian refuge islands, with a bike lane. The improvements have been immense on Larpenteur Avenue. And now improvements, thanks again to Ramsey County's focus, are coming to Rice Street. So the county will be reconstructing Rice Street on the southern portion starting this year, is my understanding. And they're working actively to raise funds to reconstruct Rice Street in the northern section too. And part of our job is to continue to advocate for that ongoing support and rebuilding of Rice Street. Connecting, so those community events have been a place where people really enjoy and offer a moment of connection. So we want to continue to grow those events and then improve. So improving the environment of the community, improving safety, and the identity and connectedness of the Rice and Larpenteur area. So those are our goals this year. This is a boring slide, but we've kind of broken the work out into like the executive committee, whose job is to kind of make sure we're standing strong, we're organizationally strong, and we're raising money and we're diversifying revenue, and that our board is representative of our community, and that kind of work. The economic vitality program areas focusing on redevelopment, encouraging local businesses to stay. Someone recently kind of reminded me that, I was with Kevian, economic development can mean growing local business and retaining local business too, right? So supporting the businesses that exist there. The Rice Street Gardens is an incredible 600 plot community garden in this neighborhood. They have they garden on a large site that is owned by the regional water utility. And that is identified in our vision plan as a possible area for housing for residents. So a new development could be coming, but our vision includes a continued community garden as well as affordable housing. So there are groups working together right now to advocate for some resources to actually build some housing in Rice and Larpenteur there. And of course, Rice Street, in addition to being rebuilt by the county, was also named by the Metropolitan Council as the G line for bus rapid transit. I mean, how exciting is that? Most of you probably know what that is, but it is a transit infrastructure that Rice Street has never seen before. It's like beautiful shelters with really consistent schedules. That's going to feel almost like a light rail experience, but like without the infrastructure of the light rail, so buses. And this will be a game changer for connecting our community to jobs and fun and school and all that good stuff. All right, our community events which I've already mentioned, and I want to also mention, especially for a couple of you who I've heard have Rice Street businesses, we want to do a business networking lunch in the fall. So in addition to our community events, we're going to host an annual business event where people can come together. We can provide resources to our local businesses, and they can build connections between each other. Just a little sidebar here. One of the cool sides of Rice and Larpenteur Alliance is when you see connections being made, that even though like two business owners who have operated businesses next to each other for like decades are meeting each other for the first time, right, at a Rice and Larpenteur Alliance event, that is super powerful when it comes to their growth, their safety, their community. So those kinds of connections are what we do. And then the neighborhood livability. We have adopted a neighborhood signage plan, so we want to get that Rice and Larpenteur brand out onto the street. And connect our community to the assets in the area. We want to do some greening. So the area, even though we have that Lake McCarran's and that beautiful park, and actually there's Unity Park in Roseville, lots of great amenities in the neighborhood, but when you drive right down Rice Street or when you're walking down Rice Street or Larpenteur Avenue, you don't feel like you're in a neighborhood that is healthy and green. So we want to work on that. And of course, continue to collaborate with public safety agencies and support safety efforts. All right, those are the densest slides, so these are just pictures, don't worry. We have a Save the Date out. We did our annual community gathering in February, which was really wonderful. Way to come together. That's kind of like our annual meeting. And we just last weekend completed our community cleanup, and your mayor, Mayor Rowe, was out there all day picking up garbage at Rice and Larpenteur, and he just reported in that there was like 60 volunteers at Rice and Larpenteur picking up trash. So let's give them a hand, right? It makes such a difference. And the next event is our Community in Bloom event. I invite every single one of you, would love for you to be a part of that, and our summer block party in August and the winter warm-up. So those dates have been set. You can find that information on our website. Hot off the presses, this is our flyer for that upcoming Community in Bloom event at Lake McCarran's Park, May 13th from noon to 2. We also offer tabling opportunities for businesses to reach our community, or nonprofits or government agencies to reach into our community there, and sponsorship opportunities both for individual events and for our entire annual corporate partnership program. I want to show you some beautiful pictures of what the signage will look like one day real soon at Rice and Larpenteur. So we're busy raising money to install these signs. I wanted to highlight again the greening and growing. So you see the Lake McCarran's Park. Do you know that Lake McCarran's is the only lifeguarded park in Ramsey County? Is that true, Commissioner, still?
Why, it's one of the few, if it's not the only one. We don't have the people to be lifeguards, so.
And it's a beautiful place to swim, so engaging people in that park, maybe looking at the long-term design of the park and usability of the park, accessibility of the park, the Rice Street Gardens that I mentioned, engaging those families, and then you can see from the vision plan a photo there of what the corridor could look like and feel like to walk down with some greening and roadway improvements. I do think it's really crucial to give a huge note of appreciation to our city leaders. I'm only able to do this awesome job because they see value in coming together and having, someone like me bring folks together to make this happen. And I can tell you honestly, this work would not be possible without the support of the Roseville City Council and Mayor Rowe, Pat, Janice, and the same for the city of Maplewood and the city of St. Paul and Ramsey County, who's played a bigger and bigger role every year. So a huge note of appreciation goes out to these cities. This is really, when I talk to people about what we've done here, this partnership, it is really unique. It is not something that people have been able to do, bring 3 municipalities together, and a county and a diverse community, and actually change things on the ground. And so anyway, a huge note of appreciation to all the city leaders who've made that happen. So just want to highlight that. That was the end of my presentation. Did I fill my time? I could talk more. I could talk for hours.
We got Q&A now. Yeah, we have some
Excellent. Okay.
questions.
Well,
So,
thank you all.
thank you, Kim, very much for the presentation, for all the work that you do. Now we'll take some time for some questions. So, audience, if you have any questions, and online folks too, if you want to raise your hand virtually, let me know, Joel, if anybody does. Commissioner McGuire.
I'll start it out. Thanks, Pat. Oh my gosh, Kim, thank you. I get all excited hearing about all the amazing things that are happening. So, Mary Jo McGuire, Ramsey County, we are so proud to be a part of this, and it is, you're absolutely right. It couldn't happen without all the amazing support of the city of Roseville, and I see Dan and Jason and Pat at practically every event. And then, of course, visit Roseville with Julie Warren, who's so involved in our park. And I want to just say, if you haven't been to Lake McCarran's, it is a great park because we have Roseville in bloom there, but we have a rose there for your rose effort. What was it called? Yeah. Roseville 2020, when you had the roses there. And one of my favorite things is the mosaic that's there. So if you haven't seen the mosaic, that was a community project. It was the Arts Roseville got a grant from the Roseville Community Foundation, so it's really Roseville based. And we did a community project with the mosaic in our park. Now all of the parks in Ramsey County want a mosaic up by them. They're like, how do we get one of those? I said, well, you have a really active community that wants to participate in this. And that is the key in this whole thing. And Kim, I just thank you so much. You've been around from the beginning. Many of us in this room have been around when this was just being, dreamed of, that this would be this way. And you have taken it to the great lengths that it is and further. So just thank you so much for all of your efforts in making this a really amazing a section of our community. And we are really proud to be a part of it. The cities, I know, are all engaged, and we all want to be more engaged. So thank you for keeping us going on that. And we just look forward to continuing to work with you. And just thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Honestly, not possible without their support. And Ramsey County's been an incredible, incredible partner. So thank you.
I'm going to add to that partnership because in 2016, it started with a grant from Ramsey County to buy Unity Park before it was a park. It was excess land that a previous owner of the apartment buildings down there just kind of left it and didn't do anything with it. And it was always a nuisance every year for the city with code enforcement. And so I thank our Park and Rec Department for actually adding to it and contributing by including the neighborhood with the park design so that it really met the needs of the kids in that area. So now the kids have a safe place to play within the community there. But I also want to say again, Ramsey County supported us for the connection to that park, to McCarran's. And there's a pathway down that street that the kids no longer have to cut through neighborhoods or anything. There's truly a dedicated pathway for that connection. I also want to say thank you, Ramsey County, again. We got a grant that took a safe transit on Larpenter. There was no safe pathway back in 2015 when we were looking at this. And we saw all these kids walking between Dale Street and Rice Street to catch a bus, which is not a safe way to be on the edge of a road, especially when it was a four-way freeway pretty much through there. So there's been a lot of thanks and support from Ramsey County with the grants to support our city, and it was all because of that visioning plan that allowed us to continue that work. So thanks for continuing on.
Yeah, thank you, Jeannie. And honestly, that park connection has been, it's one of the biggest actual realizations of an idea that was in the plan. And Janice Gunlock and Eugenie deserve so much credit for that. And one other thing I'd like to add to the city of Roseville, there's a 600 unit, I keep saying 600, but there's like a really large apartment complex. Used to be called Brittany Marion Apartments at Rice and Larpenteur on the Roseville side, home to tons of families, often new Americans, and was really not a dignified or safe or healthy place to live. And the city of Roseville did an incredible thing in holding that property accountable for the health and safety of the residents by a couple years ago, restricting that housing. What did you call it?
The license.
Restricting their license. They didn't displace anyone, but they couldn't refill units until those code issues were dealt with. And now the property is under new ownership. They hold a spot on our board. They've done a ton of really, really great work. And that is the power of city government in supporting their community. So huge kudos. It's made an incredible difference.
Great. Any other questions?
Oh, come on. I was nervous and now I just want to keep going. Just kidding.
While people are still thinking, sorry, I don't want to dominate this, but Kim, maybe give us some suggestions of other ways that we might be able to be involved in this group. I think so many of us already are involved, but if there's anything else, certainly participating in those events, and they are really fun events. They're great. If there's any other way, I know serving on the board, but I don't know if you have any other suggestions.
No, thank you for that. Yes, like I said, we need people to be involved. A lot of those successes didn't happen because I did them. Those successes happened because we were gathered as a community and people care about the work. And so when the spotlight is shined, people bring their own ideas. Like Visit Roseville with, hey, we're doing a Roseville 2020. We're doing these amazing rose statues that are artist design. We would like to have one at Rice and Larpenteur in McCarran's Park. What do you think? Like that. That doesn't happen without attention, but it wasn't something that I did. It was something that Julie and Visit Roseville did. So this is just an example of how we offer an infrastructure for you to bring your ideas and investments into Rice and Larpenteur. As a business, we really would love your support, co-branding, and sponsorship. If you care about this community, join us. Have your logo on our events as a sponsor. Show that you support this kind of really unique collaboration that makes a difference in our community. So join us as a sponsor. Join us as a volunteer. Each of these community events takes a score of people, like 60 people to clean up litter in the spring, but people to help take kids on canoe rides at Lake McCarran's, or people to help us set up for the summer block party. So volunteer. Yes, especially if you live in the neighborhood or operate a business in the neighborhood, we will hold a spot for you on the Community Advisory Board because we need you. We need your ideas and your investments. In the back, I've also included, in addition to our annual report, a fundraising form. So that outlines some of our sponsorship opportunities for businesses as well as individual donations. I think people care and they want to give. They can actually see now the changes that are happening in the neighborhood, and they want to support it and be a part of it. So if you feel inclined to give and donate, that we could list you as a supporter, that would also be a wonderful way to engage. And then, continue to hold your elected officials accountable. Like they said that they care about this neighborhood, they want to invest in this work. We hope that they continue for a long time because we have a lot of work yet to do. So keep shining the light on Rice and Larpenteur, and good things will continue to happen. Thank you.
All right. Any last call for questions? If not, thank you very much, Kim.
Thank you. All right.
Round of applause for Kim. Mayor Rowe, I don't want to put you on the spot. Is there anything you want to update the city on? Usually you have a city update. Since I'm up here, I'm going to toss the mic to you if you want to do anything. Okay. So we'll let you all out here a little bit earlier. Thank you for everybody for attending, and thank you to our sponsors, Highway Credit Union, McGough, and Visit Roseville, for their continued support. We do have our next session on May 24th, and we'll have the legislative update from the area legislators that represent Roseville If you've been following at the legislature, you know they've been very, very busy, so there's going to be a lot to talk about. And I believe the session ends the 22nd, so it'll be right after they complete it, hopefully get some sleep and be able to present to us. So welcome, please come back and welcome them and understand what they passed in the legislature, and we can kind of go from there. John.
Good segue. Just as a wrap up, last month we had MnDOT and Roseville Public Works, Ramsey County here sharing about transportation. There's going to be some outreach done. Looks like the second week of May along Fairview here with the construction being done over the 8 to 12 weeks. So just be aware of that. So there's going to be some outreach by MnDOT and also our organizations. So just be aware, and information on, website that they can tap into for the latest updates plus email communications. So.
All right, with that, feel free to stick around and mingle, but thank you and have a great day.